that moment right before takeoff. The cabin doors close, you hear that chime, and the safety video starts playing.
Oh, yeah, the classic pre-flight briefing.
Right. It is like the ultimate attention grabber. It builds familiarity and, pre-educates you long before you actually fly thousands of kilometers.
And it's a routine we just accept without question, right?
Yeah.
Because we actually want to be guided before a journey begins.
Exactly. Which is why today we are doing a deep dive into a really massive stack of sources. We've got industry forecasts, aviation research, and airline case studies.
Yeah, we're looking at exactly why the airline industry absolutely needs to expand that whole pre-flight briefing concept in 2026.
And we are skipping the usual marketing buzzwords. No generic brand-building fluff here. We want to know why airlines need to invest in video podcasts right now, purely based on hard aviation economics and, well, operational survival.
Because if you look at passenger expectations today, they are entirely digital first. I mean, if an airline wants to build trust that actually moves the needle on the balance sheet, they have to treat content as a financial utility, not just some PR exercise.
And let's look at the numbers from the sources, because the International Air Transport Association, IATA, put out a forecast that just blew my mind.
Oh, the ancillary revenue numbers?
Yes. They project ancillary services, so things like baggage fees, seat selection, priority boarding, will generate $145 billion by 2025. For you listening here in South Africa, that is over 2.5 trillion rands.
Trillion with a T. It's staggering.
2.5 trillion. And if a video podcast can clearly show you what that extra legroom or lounge access actually looks like, it stops being this, annoying generic fee.
Right. It becomes a tangible upgrade you actually want to buy before you even get to the airport. It completely reframes the psychology of the purchase.
Okay, but hold on. If I'm flying, I'm usually already quite annoyed by the mere idea of baggage fees.
Sure, yeah.
So why on earth would I willingly watch a 30-minute podcast about them? Nobody wants to sit through a corporate ad for an extra bag.
Well, they wouldn't if it was framed as an ad. But the smartest airlines aren't using podcasts just to sell. They use them to reduce consumer friction, especially when things go wrong.
Like during delays.
Exactly. Look at the research in our stack from the UK's Civil Aviation Authority. They found that during bad weather or air traffic control outages, poor communication actively worsens passenger distress.
People just feel completely stranded.
Stranded and totally unaware of their legal rights.
So if the airline has an evergreen video series explaining passenger rights, or what actually happens during a disruption, you replace the chaos of a crowded terminal with a calm, clear voice.
Which gives the passenger certainty. And crucially, it stops the call center from completely melting down.
Having that library of content ready to go is so critical. And I think that is exactly where a production partner like Tim Africa comes in. They build the actual workflow so an airline isn't scrambling to record a video in the middle of a massive crisis.
Because that infrastructure has to be built before the storm hits, right? And we're seeing airlines successfully deploy this right now.
Yeah, Delta Airlines is a great example from our notes. They had this live video series called Gaining Altitude, hosted by their CEO.
And they aren't using it to sell tickets at all.
No, they're using it to humanize their leadership and really boost employer branding. It gives potential hires a totally transparent look at the company culture.
And then you've got Lufthansa doing something similar with Above and Beyond, but they use it to bridge the gap between their internal staff and external aviation geeks.
Oh, by sharing all those technical, behind-the-scenes engineering stories.
Exactly. It fosters intense brand loyalty. They aren't just an airline anymore. They become a club for aviation enthusiasts.
But the distribution is what really seals the deal for me.
Yeah.
You have Spotify and United partnering to put podcasts on over 130,000 seatback screens.
Which is huge.
And Air France took their passengers' podcasts and baked it directly into their long-haul in-flight entertainment. You're sitting there flying thousands of kilometers, watching a video podcast built by the very airline you're flying on.
That fundamentally changes the game. But to get your content onto a seatback screen, you can't just upload a raw smartphone video.
Obviously not.
It requires flawless, repeatable production quality, plus the analytics to track what passengers are actually watching. This is the strategic backend that Tim Africa is built to support.
Right, making sure the high-level strategy matches the daily execution.
Exactly.
So for airlines, a video podcast really isn't just a marketing hobby. It's a relationship engine, a retail tool, and a crucial operational asset.
It transforms the passenger experience from the ground up.
And that brings up an interesting question for you to chew on. Next time you're stuck at a gate during a massive delay, How much would your frustration drop if the airline had a video series explaining exactly how their control center recovers the network?
Yeah, I mean, I know I'd be a lot more forgiving if I understood the mechanics behind the delay. We all just want to know what to expect, like that pre-flight briefing.
Exactly. So if you want to build a measurable pilot season and stop explaining yourself from scratch, you really need to connect with the experts.
Highly recommend it.
Visit their website at tim.africa, check out the podcast hub at pod.tim.africa, and find them on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at tim.africa or on TikTok at tim.africa_.
To pitches, here we go. Ideas fast, body flow. Catch the vibe, catch the spark. Light it up, ignite the dark. Tip pitches, with a bigger idea, switches. Podcasters, turn to the marketing riches. Plug it in, turn it loud. Build your brand, make it proud. Pitch it high, pitch it sweet. Performance game, can't be beat. Take pictures with a big idea, switch.